This is Tom Fox. I'm the Compliance Evangelist, and I'd like to welcome you to the September edition of my year-long podcast series on creating a more effective compliance program. Each month during this year, I'm focusing on a different topic which will help you create a more effective compliance program. And for the month of September, I'm going to focus on innovation in compliance. First, a word from this month's sponsor, Oversight Systems.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. Oversights' artificial intelligence platform takes a comprehensive, multidimensional approach to identifying anomalies that are suggestive of bribery and corruption. Our analytics look across various dimensions such as employees, attendees, vendors, and countries over an extended time period. This enables us to identify employees exhibiting patterns of potentially improper behavior or collusion that are difficult to detect by auditing a single transaction at a time. Based on the analysis, employees or vendors engaged in risky behavior are presented in a risk-ranked format for easy examination. Remediation activities and the underlying root causes are automatically documented to drive continuous improvement. Oversight clients can easily demonstrate to the board, and if ever necessary to the regulatory authorities, that proactive monitoring of business transactions for anti-bribery and corruption risk is an integral part of company operations. With Oversight's Insights on Demand, you can have a best practice approach to identify possible violations in travel and entertainment and procure-to-pay programs. For more information, visit us at oversightsystems.com.
Innovation indeed. I hope you will join me for the entire one-month series on innovation. I'm going to take a look at artificial intelligence, social media, leadership, and structural innovations. I think you will find it a fascinating month, and at the end of the month, you will have multiple tools and techniques which you can utilize to make your compliance program not only more effective, but operationalized, more efficient, and helping you to create greater profitability for your organization. This podcast, 1 Month to a Better Compliance Program, is a part of the Compliance Podcast Network. Day 3, Patterns in Raked Leaves. We have previously considered how artificial intelligence, or AI, can be used as a business advantage for compliance in the knowledge economy. However, the power of AI can extend to the more traditional functions of the compliance program, such as prevention, detection, and remediation. The first is simply in the mass of data which could inundate a compliance practitioner. Patrick Taylor, the CEO and president of Oversight Systems, has noted that AI allows the compliance practitioner to understand the subtle clues in that pattern of activities that will clue you into what to take a look at further and explore and investigate further. He likened it to seeing a pattern in raked leaves, which allows you to step in and take a deeper and broader look at an issue, either through an audit or investigation. This is where the compliance practitioner can step back and literally keep an eye on the bigger picture as opposed to just the immediate, and gives you your best hope for finding that a type of systemic fraud behavior which might be ongoing in your organization and you might not be able to spot if you looked more granularly. This speaks to one of the more difficult issues for the compliance practitioner is what does all of the information need? And here I'd like to take a look at the example of GlaxoSmithKline or GSK in China, because I think it provides a great example of if the corporation had used AI, perhaps they wouldn't have gotten so behind the wall in their Chinese business unit. If you recall, in that case, the Chinese business unit employees were working en masse to create a fraudulent reimbursable invoicing scheme, inflating the cost of events to create a pool of money to pay bribes. The employees would stage an event around a product or service in a hotel or other venue, and then they would inflate the hotel charge at 20% above the actual cost and submit the entire amount to the corporate office for reimbursement. They would take the difference and use that as a pool of money to create a pool of money to pay bribes. And in some cases, GSK employees simply submitted invoices for fraudulent events that never even took place. Now layer on top of these deceptions that in China there's a rampant sale of fake receipts, so that for every Marriott they went to for an event, they could buy an official Marriott receipt which showed that the price was paid, and it included the backup documentation for an auditor to look at on an expense report. Finally, throw on top of that the illegal sale of valid Chinese government stamps, tax stamps, to tier on another level of complexity. Taylor noted that AI could provide you the opportunity to detect even this type of massive and systemic fraud because statistically the charges submitted by the Chinese business unit would not make sense. The reason this type of fraud can be so difficult to detect and prevent is that charges were on credit cards, so they were recorded, and there was a paper documentation to back up the charges. Standard modalities of detection will not assist the compliance practitioner. You just know that something does not make sense, or you might not even know that, but you need to check. AI allows the compliance professional to gather and compute statistics across a wide variety of customers, third-party providers, employees, and situations, including, as Taylor specifically noted, geographic and time dimensions. Using these two data points, you can analyze what is a reasonable amount to spend at a hotel or other venue. But it also includes such variables as the time of year, as some cities have tremendous seasonality in their hotel charges. Of course, some cities do not, and indeed in other parts of an expense, such as transportation, there may be zero variability across seasons. AI allows you to pull a geographic, time, type of expense, and even vendor statistics for big picture analysis. In a broader manner, consider all of the data points in the life cycle of a business transaction which produce business data analytics for the compliance practitioner. When a business development person initially makes a call on a potential customer, when a request for a proposal or RFP comes into an organization, when the response is formulated with pricing and proposed discounts, during any subsequent contract negotiations, and post-contract obligations for travel and training, and continued business development contacts with a customer. Each of these steps could provide data which, taken singularly, might not raise red flags or even be outside company expectations, but taken as a whole, it might be a transaction which would lend itself to compliance oversight. Starting with the BD representative, what was the spend on gifts, meals, and entertainment? Even if the event is not available to the compliance department, even if that information is not available to the compliance department, it is available from employee reimbursement requests so that it can be taken as an appropriate business deduction under IRS regs. From the FCPA perspective, is the business development representative entertaining a foreign official under the FCPA? If so, what is the aggregate spend on any one such government official over a 12-month period? What is the business development spend on any singular government official by a variety of BD representatives? Has travel been involved to tour any company facilities? If so, what was the aggregate spend, and has it been correlated with other gifts, travel, and entertainment or GTE spends? Moving on to contract negotiations, which might take place. Were there any discounts offered outside the standard discount range? If so, were these discounts properly vetted through the internal company process? What was the process documented? And were there any senior management sign-offs put in place? Did the customer suggest the use of any third-party suppliers through the prime contract? Were there any charitable donations made during this process or within 12 months after a successful contract negotiation? Was the contract properly vetted by all required internal processes, by management, legal, and compliance? If the business function was successful in concluding the contract, did it specify any travel for the customer? How about ongoing training, and if so, for how long? Was there a specification of business travel or above travel accommodations? Has any required compliance or FCPA training been delivered to third parties involved in the contract? Was there any corporate social responsibility or CSR requirement going forward? Does the company have visibility into this, or does it go through the company charitable donation group or committee? These are but some of the data points that could be inputted and analyzed to determine if a compliance issue arose. But they would also provide the company with a wealth of information on its internal efficiencies around sales and the corresponding processes. When the compliance function embraces the use of AI and the human technology technological approach for risk assessments and keeps improving risk management techniques, it will create a sustainable, strategic business, compliance, and intelligence advantage over its competition. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Well, number one, as a compliance practitioner, do you know what all of the information you have available to you means? I would suggest to you many times you don't, and AI can give you that. 2, AI can help detect and prevent prongs in a best practices compliance program. And number 3, this is the one I'd really like you to consider as the key takeaway for today. AI can help you to see the patterns in raked leaves. Hope you've enjoyed listening to day 3 in my 1-month series to better innovation and compliance, and I hope you will join me tomorrow for day 4. This is Tom Fox again. I'd like to thank you again for listening to this episode of 1 Month to More Effective Innovation and Compliance. If you have listened to this podcast on iTunes, I hope that you would rate our podcast, as would help in our rankings and help get the word out about the only monthly podcast series in compliance, which will help you create a better compliance program. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This is Tom Fox. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you will join me again tomorrow.